And another component here about why it is that home prices didn't go down 10% has to do with demand from millennials and from Gen Z. And I've got some specifics on that amount of demand, but just to put this in general context, this is US birth rates by year. It goes back to 1978, which happens to be the year that I was born. But if this number was graphed back to 1978, in fact, back through the Gen Xers, there was a real drop in birthing rate in birth rates through this period of time. And interestingly enough, this is when Roe versus Wade was legalized abortion. The 70s was a period of contraceptives becoming mainstream, and there was a drop in the birth rate from the boomers to the Gen Xers. There was a drop in that birth rate. And then starting with the millennials, you started to see this increase in the number of birth rates per year. And we know that today, the age of a first-time homebuyer has been moved back. It used to be around 30 for my generation. Now with millennials, it's becoming the age of about 38 is the average age. And you can see what's happened here in the last, if we go back 39 years ago, back to 1986, let's just assume we're in 2025 here, because this is the forecast that we're making. You can see that there's this sharp uptick in birth rates. 38 years later, you would anticipate that there's a sharp uptick in demand for housing. And the point I wanted to make here is, look what happens to these birth rates going from 1986 up to 1990. And even there's a little bit of pullback here with Gen Z. So after the millennials to Gen Z, the cohort or the size of that demographic pulls back a little bit, but we're still about 4 million birth rates. Back in my generation, you only had about 3.6 million birth rates. And in fact, this actually bottomed out at about 3 million, a little over 3 million. So you have this strong demand, and that is, and people that want to buy houses for these reasons that are becoming the age of a first-time homebuyer. And that, to me, is the explanation as to why why we saw 5.9% national appreciation despite 7 and 8% mortgage rates.